and welcome to Project Home DIY. My name is Christine Gloat, the owner and curator of Project Home Projects. Thanks for joining us this July. I can't believe I'm already saying that, but it is July, and if you can see behind me, I do have our quarterly holiday July kit displayed on our tiered wall shelf. So we do have a quarterly holiday subscription. In these basic monthly subscriptions, we don't ever include holiday-based items, but we did have a demand for them. So we created the holiday quarterly subscription, which is also on our website. If you like the tiered wall shelf, that is available currently in our store. So enough about that little distraction to remind us that it's already July. But look at this gem. Like, come on, how pretty is that? Like, one of my favorite things ever growing up was our Lazy Susan as a kid, and probably my mom would not agree with me saying that because, fun story, if you don't want to listen to this, just fast forward a couple steps. But funny story, not so funny then, funny now. She got some pottery, some really super nice pottery, salt and pepper shakers, and a napkin holder. And like the second she got them home, my sister and I saw them on the Lazy Susan. We were like, look at those! And you can guess where they went. So that's what I kind of think of when I think of Lazy Susans. And I can totally see my children doing that now these days. So hopefully these little bars here on the side of our Lazy Susan will stop any of those children from doing what I did. But you never know. So we're gonna get to creating this. Again, 2023, we're bringing you simple. We're bringing you things that are very useful and simple to create. This will not take us very long at all. We're going to put the stencil on and then, or stain first, whatever you decide to do, stencil, and then finish the Lazy Susan. Screw on the edges with the screws provided, the side metal piece brackets with the screws provided, and decorate our jars for on the top if you choose to go that route. I did put a disclaimer in the instructions to get some old bottles or jars if you needed. If you don't want to use them on your Lazy Susan, it's totally optional. But you do have the jute for it and some nice dried real floral. We don't want that plastic stuff. Real floral to go on the jars. So get your jars ready. You'll want your hot glue gun plugged in for working with the jute on the jars. So let's get started with that part. I still haven't 100% decided how I want to do this, but creating, I did something really cool. Maybe I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, so here it is, but this is the stencil that we're gonna be using. And what I did on this is I actually painted the stencil on first on natural wood, let it dry, and then I stained over it. And I kind of liked it because it took the color of the stain and kind of stained my white paint and didn't make the white paint be so in your face when it's done. So I think I'm gonna continue on with this same test that I did here and do it on here as well. So with that being said, I'm gonna start with the stencil first. If you were to do, there's gonna be a little bit of a disclaimer with this. If you do this stencil first, and we're gonna see how well it works, but I'm gonna use white paint on top of this. If you use a water-based stain or a faux stain, like mixed water with paint and you do a lighter color, it could potentially make this bleed and blur because it's two water-based products and they're just gonna mix. It's like putting water on sort of halfway dry paint. It's gonna smear it. So we have to be really careful about that. Oh, it's fine. Totally fine. Not gonna be a problem at all. I'm gonna use black for mine. So you'll see that this stencil does not cover the whole shebang, and that's okay because I'm gonna pull it off, and once this is painted, I'm gonna pull it off, move it over, do this separate piece. So reusable mesh stencils, these are amazing. save this backer piece, just pull them off the backer, stick them on your wood. There is no real direction, so these lines don't matter. We don't have to keep anything straight. There's no real direction on this thing at all. So just place your stencil. Make sure that whatever you place your stencil on is a nice, smooth surface. It's like putting tape over gravel and then pouring water over it. If you don't have a nice, smooth surface, it's not gonna seal correctly. That's the #1 issue with these stencils, is people say that they leak, but that's not true. The stencils do not leak. The surface is not prepped correctly. It needs to be a smooth surface. So I'm gonna do black for my base color, black, and then I'm gonna stain over the top with that gray. So it's gonna be black underneath. I think that would look really good. So let's take this is Raven from our kit. So the Black Project Home Paint, Raven. And I'm just gonna paint over this stencil. The key also to these stencils is do not let the paint dry on them. This is a screen through here. You'll see it's a mesh, a screen. If you let the paint dry, it's gonna dry in that and it's not gonna dry on your stencil or on your piece of wood. It's gonna pull it away from that piece of wood. We don't want that. So just go ahead and cover your stencil with paint. Don't be shy. If it doesn't cover all areas, that's okay. We don't have words and exact perfect things that we want to show that we have to read. So don't worry about getting everything super covered. And let me show you what I mean by that. If you see, I just went really lightly over here, like you can see the A through there. You can see some of that through there, but let me show you. Look how pretty it still is. Okay, even if it's just a real light finish right there. Now, if you do that and pull your stencil up, just use the palm of your hand and smash it back down. Okay? Yes, your hand will get covered. Yes, you won't have any rags around like me, but I'm just gonna keep going. I don't care. Okay, more paint. I watch people do these stencils and they're like, just get into it. Just do it. Just do it. You cannot, if you have your surface prepped right, which these, the Lazy Susan itself it comes prepped with a nice smooth surface, but if you paint first and then stencil, you need to sand and make sure that you sand and smooth out all those grainy parts that came up, because while paint is water-based, anything you put on wood will pull grain of wood to the surface, and we don't want that showing. So just remember to make sure and sand your surface. Okay, I'm not getting super close to that edge right here. I'm gonna stay a little bit away from it, and then I'm gonna pull this up. Ta-da! Beautiful, huh? Don't want that to happen, darn it, what the heck. Okay, now I'm gonna just take the stencil right here and press it down with my fingers flat. Seriously, don't be super paranoid about what's going on here. Once we have everything done on this, it will all turn out perfect. I went a little bit over the edge right there. If you want to be a little bit more precise, you can wait till this is dry. Look at that. You can wait till it's dry and then put a tape line, that's fine. If there are some pieces that you just totally can't, I don't have an X-Acto knife. Okay, if there are some bleed marks, there shouldn't be because your surface is prepped right. But if there are some pieces like right through here, I can see some more. I overbrushed a little bit, but just scrape. It'll come off. Get back down to that natural wood. And you can clean that up a tiny bit. But truly, like, it's beautiful. It's meant to be super abstract. There is no perfection to this. And also, when we are I shouldn't treat my stencil like that, oops. Do you guys realize these mesh stencils, companies that, by the way, our stencils are made by the exact same companies. There's like only one that makes these reusable mesh stencils for every company. Some charge like $30 for this stencil alone. Just saying, 30 bucks, you go somewhere else and buy a stencil, it's gonna be 30 bucks. Our artwork, this is done by our artist Nicole. This is a digital design this time. She didn't hand dry it all, but it's a digital design. She composed of it. You won't find this anywhere else. That's the coolest part. But it's supposed to be super abstract. Once this is dry, I'm gonna sand the crap out of it because I want this worn black look to come through, okay? I want some of these letters to be worn off like it's been rubbed and worn. So that's what we'll do once it's dry. I'm gonna set this to the side, put it in the heater so it can dry while we work on the jars. I'll be back. Forgot to mention about your stencil. This is a reusable mesh stencil. You can use this lots of times, about 5, 6, 7 times, depending on how sticky it stays. Once it's like this and you have your paint, you're done painting, take this underneath water and wash it, okay? Wash all of it out. It doesn't matter if the gray part stains. Different color paints will make it stain. It doesn't matter if that stains, but just it does matter if you get the mesh washed out. So the mesh needs to be washed out for sure. Place it face down on a paper towel or any towel until it is dry, and then you can place it back on your clean backer paper, not like this. I've made a complete mess out of it. But look how cool that just made that look. These are washable. Go throw them in the sink. Don't crumple them like this when you're washing them. Keep them flat and nice, and just hold them like this and wash it out, okay? And then lay it face down, let it dry, sticky side up, place your sticky side back down on your clean paper. I clearly am not gonna use mine again. I have several of them. Okay, we'll get back and do the jars. All right, back with the jars. Again, these are optional if you choose to use the jars to display what kind of jars, what you do to them, the look, all of that. But we included jute so you could take some old recycled jars and add a little flair to them by just adding some jute to them. So I'm gonna unwrap some jute. These are old bottles that we found out in some old land. So I'm in Wyoming, and there's a lot of old land where people used to dump their garbage and then they just light it on fire and let it burn, and that was done like in the 50s. And so like a lot of this old stuff is still there, and we love to go and like scavenge there. So it's kind of fun. But I'm gonna cover the top of this in jute. So I'm gonna put just a dab of hot glue. Again, hot glue is hot, but my favorite trick, lick your finger and you can press on it. Just dab that down. It makes the hot glue clear, and it also dries so you're ready to be able to use the piece that you just set on there. So you don't have to like wait forever for it to set up and blah, blah, blah. So lick your finger. I used to like hesitate saying that during COVID, and I'm like, lick your finger. And I was like, well, wait a minute, maybe not, because everybody's so worried about that. But we're over that now. We're over that hump, and we're back to licking our fingers, so you can freely lick your finger. But just run that jute right around there, whatever look you like. You can paint the jute, you can do all sorts of stuff to it. I'm just gonna put some jute on here, just simple look. Nothing too crazy. I have to create projects that appeal to a lot of people. So the fun thing about your projects is you get to put your exact flair on them. And that's fun. I have to create it pretty simple, basic, so everybody kind of can relate to it. But feel free to add in your own flair, because that's what makes Project Home so awesome, is you can do that. Okay, so I'm done there. Just gonna put a dab of hot glue, lick my finger, dab it in place. It'll hold that jute. makes it nice and clean. You won't even be able to tell where it's at. So there's one of the bottles wrapped with jute. This one I might do around the center. You have 5 yards of jute. I think that's plenty. Should be plenty. Okay, I'm just gonna do a small section right here. So again, a little bit of hot glue. Place your rope, lick and touch. There's no strings, no nothing. It's dry, it's set, it's clear, and we can move on with our life and not have to wait for hot glue to set up, because yeah, it's not what we want to be doing. Okay, here's the second one, and I'm just gonna do a tiny bit on the third. Okay, there's the 3 jars. And now I can place the eucalyptus in pieces in them. So if the mouth of the jar isn't wide enough, you might have to pull some of these pieces off and use this longer piece. And there, except for these are the same height now, so I'm gonna break this one. There we go. Yep. And use this guy down at the bottom. Pull some leaves off though to clean it up. Okay. That looks cute, just like that, but we gotta add a little bit more. So just break them. Find where the heights that you like that work well on the jars. Super cute. I have extras. I can use them or not. I could add more. Or save them, because if you have cats, they like them. Sorry. I know. Sorry, I curated edible decor for your kittens. But you could save them and use them. If you want, you can join your floral at the bottom so it stays all together, if you like that better. Other cool thing you can do is, if you want pieces to stay in a certain place, just tack them with hot glue, like a little tiny bit on your jar, and just glue your stem up right next to it. And then it won't move and it'll always be where you want it to be. No matter who flings your Lazy Susan around. But there is our little arrangement with our recycled jars. That can go on your Lazy Susan, or place this somewhere in your house. It's a nice little trio set if you don't want it on your Lazy Susan. So that is the jars. Let me go get our Lazy Susan. It's been in the heater drying so we can finish and stain it away. And here it is, beautiful as can be. I'm looking for a sanding block, and of course, I don't have one around me, but thankfully I have a starter kit under there that I can use. So I did say I was gonna sand this up because I do want a more worn look. If you don't and you like the way this looks as it is, you know, check it out, try it out, see what you think. With some placement ideas. Oh my gosh, it's so cute already. There's sort of with just the natural wood and black. Holy cow, it's beautiful, stunning. You could paint the sides black, solid black, and to match kind of thing. The bottom piece of the Lazy Susan does come apart. So if you want to paint all this, you can take this off and it can easily be put back together. The way I designed these, and yes, I designed this entire thing because I didn't want the ugly metal Lazy Susan thing. I said, come on, can't we put some bearings in there and make it all better? And ta-da, it did. So this wood is fir wood. It's got quite a strong smell to it, part of the cedar family. So, but it is also a soft wood. So you're gonna see some of this fringy part. Just sand that away. Make it kind of nice and smooth. This is our finishing step on this. So the sides are supposed to be rough. I chose that. I just like the look of it. So they are supposed to be rough. That's not anything wrong. Okay, and now I'm gonna sand the top of the painted part. So here we go. Using your edge of the sander right down those cracks, gets all the fuzzies out of the cracks. Okay, and no, you didn't smear the paint, no, you didn't ruin it. We just need to wipe it off. My favorite thing to use to wipe it off is actually my pants. I learned that probably because I didn't have rags all over, but I don't know why. I feel like it works way better than like a microfiber cloth or anything, and I don't know why. I just do. I always do it. You can see this is where I line the two stencils up, but from afar, you'd never be able to tell. If there's like little pieces you don't like, just sand more there and sand all that off. So you won't even see it. You can take your sander, use it on the edge in certain spots just to create more worn areas. You can almost work up a sweat, like sanding, if you really get into it. Okay, let me clean my mitts up and use my favorite thing. So there we go. There's my prepped surface. Now I'm just gonna stain it. So what I'm gonna choose to stain it with over the top of that black, and hoping that my paint is dry enough that it doesn't smear when I put this liquid over the top. It shouldn't, but I'm also not gonna rub, okay? I'm gonna be very gentle. But I'm going to take, I do wanna take this piece off. Ah, there's stuff flying everywhere. I'm gonna take this bottom piece off just so I can keep it clean. And I'm not gonna stain the bottom piece, and here's why. If I have a paint or stain or something on the bottom of this, if you move it across the table, it could scratch the paint or stain off on the table. Not a big deal, just wipe it back off, but I'm just gonna leave it natural wood. It's pretty, it's ready to go. So this is what it's gonna look like without, so I can stain the whole thing. I'm using just Minwax. This is aged barrel color. It should be similar to the examples I showed you, except for I don't think my aged barrel was mixed very well when I did that. So we'll see what it turns out this time. I'll put a glove on the other hand. When I do oil-based stains, I do for sure want to have gloves on. And I just use a rag. So there's like chunks and pieces all over. I just cut up a washcloth. That's all I use for rag, but I'm gonna stain the back side first, do this top side with the paint last. If you do not have a stain to use, that's okay. Take one of the paints and add water to it, make a light paint, and you can use it as a stain that way. It works just fine. If you don't have access to stains or don't want to go get any, that's one way you can do that. Ah, I forgot. All your boxes come with paper. That's a really good thing to lay out when you stain. Okay, so I wipe all my stain on and then wipe over it again with the same rag just to smooth it out and get like the big blob areas out of there. Okay, here goes the top. Again, I'm not gonna take much time and I'm gonna go pretty quick and not rub a lot. Oh, it's fine. Totally fine. Not gonna be a problem at all. And I literally just painted this and am staining over the top, which this shouldn't be a problem because it is an oil-based stain going over a water-based paint. So it shouldn't be a problem, but just something to think about when you're working. Kind of offloading my rag in the cracks so I can get those cracks filled. But that is so pretty. Oh my goodness. You guys, I never get to actually fall in love with the project until it's out of my brain and in my hands. And this is the moment you get to share with me sometimes. Like, how beautiful is that? I can't even. Touching these without, I can't wait to see this on my white countertops. Beautiful. Okay, let your stain dry. I'm gonna be very impatient. I'm gonna set it in the heater for a little while so then I can put these brackets on, and we'll be right back with the final assembly of the whole thing. Can't wait. Okay, I'm back for the final steps. So there's a wet stain rag. It's all set up, ready to go. If you choose to add a clear coat, you can do that. A varnish, anything that, like the DuraClear sealer that we used on another project, that should work just fine. If you choose to add a clear coat, you can do that. This would be the time to do that. I'm just gonna put back together the bottom piece. So just line those up. Depending on how tight you make this, depends on how much your table spins, but if it's too loose, it'll be wobbly. You don't want your tray to wobble back and forth. Okay, spins perfect. All right, the sides, we just put those on with a Phillips screwdriver, and I'm going to follow lines when placing these brackets on, because then I can easily just see that this end meets with that line, and then I'm gonna do it at the same over there. So just hold it up. I'm gonna put the middle one in first. Again, fir wood is pretty soft. This shouldn't be too hard. You can use a drill if you have one. Oh, this is not hard at all. Okay. It is so pretty. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna say it. It's probably one of my favorite projects ever. Yep. Said it. So cute. I love it. Set that over there. Get this paper out of here so you can make sure it's spinning correctly. But there it is. I think these are in there correctly, but maybe I'll loosen that up just a tad. Oh yeah. That's the ticket. Then we can add our decorative pieces, plus the essentials, you know, the salt, the pepper, or use it in your bathroom. Like, how beautiful is that? Set a couple makeup brushes on it. Use these as makeup brush holders. Super cute. So that is July, 4th of July, July's projects. Thank you for joining me. Make sure that you join our VIP group because we have lots and lots of members in there who receive this exact same project just like you did. And they will blow this out of the water on what they create and do with these. It is unbelievable. So make sure you join that group, and you can see lots of pictures of past projects and how creative these people really are. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye.